Something weird was happening with McLaren's car. And I mean really weird. They were absolutely destroying everyone at tracks where that shouldn't be possible. Think about it, you've got Monaco with its tight corners, then Silverstone with those massive straights. Barcelona's mix of everything, Red Bull Ring's long acceleration zones. Completely different setups, right? Wrong. McLaren was dominating all of them. Their MCL38 was generating insane downforce in corners while somehow being a rocket ship on straights. That's literally impossible in Formula One. It's like having your cake and eating it too. Every other team has to choose, do we go for corner speed or straight line speed? McLaren said. Why not both? And that's when Red Bull started asking serious questions. But wait, it gets better. For months, McLaren had been climbing the performance ladder. After years of rebuilding from their Honda engine disaster and general mediocrity, they suddenly found themselves challenging for wins. Not just lucky wins, but genuine pace that left everyone scratching their heads. Here's where it gets absolutely juicy. Red Bull's aerodynamics team basically became Formula One detectives. These guys are obsessed with performance, right? They're watching race footage frame by frame, analyzing onboard cameras, studying how cars behave at different speeds. What they found was absolutely mental. McLaren's front wing was doing something no one had ever seen before. Under certain conditions, the wing elements weren't just flexing backward like normal wings do under load. They were actually changing their angle of attack at high speeds. Picture this scenario: you're flying down the main straight at 200 miles per hour. Wind pressure hits the wing, and instead of just bending back, it actively flattens out to reduce drag. Then the moment you brake for the corner, it snaps back to full downforce mode. It's genius, honestly. A former Red Bull aerodynamicist told journalists it was like having a passive DRS system that worked without any driver input or mechanical parts. The wing basically reconfigured itself based on aerodynamic load and speed alone. Completely automatic, completely passive, completely brilliant engineering. But here's the million-dollar question: was it actually legal? That's where Formula One gets messy and political. The regulations clearly state no movable aerodynamic devices, with DRS being the only exception. But everything flexes under load to some degree, that's just physics. McLaren apparently found that perfect sweet spot where they passed all the FIA's mandatory static load tests and scrutineering but behaved completely differently under the dynamic conditions of actual racing. The evidence Red Bull collected was pretty damning. High-speed camera footage from multiple races showing the wing behavior during acceleration phases. Data on how the car's ride height changed at different speeds, which indicated aerodynamic load shifting. They even analyzed the McLaren sector times, comparing performance in corner sequences versus straight-line sections. Red Bull wasn't having any of it. Team principal Christian Horner, even though he's technically not running the team day-to-day anymore, started making very pointed comments on Sky Sports F1. The regulations are clear about movable aerodynamic devices, he said with that trademark smirk. The FIA needs to ensure everyone's playing by the same rules. Translation: McLaren's found a loophole, and someone needs to shut it down immediately. Behind the scenes, Red Bull presented the FIA with what sources described as a comprehensive technical dossier. Photos, video evidence, performance data analysis, the whole 9 yards. They weren't just complaining, they were building a legal case. The political pressure worked perfectly. The FIA responded with Technical Directive TD-018 right before the Spanish Grand Prix. This wasn't just a gentle clarification, it was a sledgehammer. Front-wing flexibility rules suddenly got way stricter. The allowed deflection under load dropped from 15 mm to just 10 mm. Additionally, the trailing edge of any front-wing flap could deflect no more than 3 mm when a 60 Newton-point load was applied. These weren't random numbers either. The new tests were clearly designed to address exactly the kind of controlled flexibility McLaren had been exploiting. It was surgical precision regulation making. McLaren's public response was masterfully diplomatic. Minimal impact on our performance, Andrea Stella announced confidently. We've always designed our car to comply with the regulations. These clarifications are part of the normal regulatory process, and our current front wing design already meets the new requirements. But behind closed doors, different story entirely. Paddock insiders reported serious overtime at McLaren's Woking headquarters. While the team publicly insisted no redesign was necessary, engineers were conducting extensive verification testing on front-wing components. Rob Marshall, their chief designer who ironically joined from Red Bull the previous year, was reportedly working around the clock ensuring their designs would perform under the new testing regime. Spain became the moment of truth. Would McLaren still be untouchable? On qualifying day, things looked promising. Oscar Piastri grabbed pole position with Lando Norris right beside him on the front row. The McLaren 1-2 was intact. But experienced eyes noticed subtle changes in their performance profile. While still absolutely formidable in high-speed corners where pure downforce matters, the McLarens were no longer enjoying quite the same devastating straight-line speed advantage they demonstrated at previous races. The race itself told an even more revealing story. As tire degradation became a factor and fuel loads decreased, both McLaren drivers started reporting that the car felt noticeably different. More sensitive to setup changes, less forgiving in the transition phases between corners and straights. They still secured podium finishes because the underlying car is genuinely excellent, but their margin over closest rivals had shrunk considerably. Post-race data analysis suggested McLaren had lost approximately 0.1 to 0.2 seconds per lap in pure performance. That might not sound like much, but in Formula One, where victories are decided by thousandths of seconds, it's absolutely massive. The difference was most evident precisely where you'd expect in those crucial transition phases between corners and straights where a flexible front wing would provide maximum advantage. What we're seeing is the classic impact of a technical clarification, explained former F1 technical director Pat Simmons. McLaren hasn't suddenly become uncompetitive. They still have an excellent overall package with strong fundamentals. But they may have lost a specific aerodynamic advantage that gave them that extra edge in certain conditions. Now the playing field is more level. The controversy raises fascinating questions that extend far beyond just McLaren's performance. How many other teams might have been exploiting similar concepts, perhaps to lesser degrees? Mercedes was mentioned in some discussions about front-wing flexibility. Both Ferrari and Aston Martin introduced modified front-wing designs shortly after the technical directive was issued. Coincidence? Probably not. More broadly, this episode perfectly highlights the eternal cat-and-mouse game between Formula One teams and regulators that makes the sport so compelling. The entire history of F1 is filled with similar technical controversies. Brabham's fan car that created ground effect suction. Braun's double diffuser that dominated 2009. Red Bull's flexible floors and wings. McLaren's F-duct system. In each case, innovative engineers found creative ways to work within the letter of regulations while potentially pushing the boundaries of their spirit. They gained significant performance advantages until regulations evolved to close these gray areas. It's not cheating in the traditional sense, it's exploiting ambiguity in rules that are impossibly complex to write comprehensively. For McLaren, the real challenge now is maintaining their championship challenge through other development paths. Their car remains fundamentally fast with excellent balance and drivability. The team's recent track record of aerodynamic development has been genuinely impressive. But with Red Bull and Ferrari both bringing major upgrade packages to upcoming races, and with that specific advantage now neutralized, the championship battle has become significantly more competitive. The most intriguing question is whether McLaren might have other technical innovations still hidden within their car. Teams that find one clever interpretation of rules often discover others. The MCL38 continues showing performance characteristics in certain conditions that still puzzle rival engineers. As one paddock engineer put it perfectly, when you see a team finding an advantage in one area, it's rarely in isolation. There's usually an underlying design philosophy that extends to other aspects of the car. McLaren's success probably isn't built on just one trick. As Formula One heads into the crucial middle phase of the 2025 season, this technical battle has definitely intensified competition. Red Bull's successful push for regulatory clarification has potentially